Hello, everyone. My name is Arlene Blanchard, and I am a survivor of the Murrah Federal Building bombing of April 19th, 1995. I worked on the 4th floor in the Army Recruiting Battalion as an Army personnel sergeant. I had 9 working days left in the military when the blast happened. I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was such a beautiful, pristine day. And no wind. That's strange for Oklahoma. The sun was shining. I had great hopes for my future because I was going to be beginning a new chapter in my life as a civilian. Every morning I would start my work day taking the stairwell instead of the elevator because I was into fitness and I was in the military. And when I would walk into the office, as everyone who walked into our office was greeted by Wanda and Dolores. What wonderful people they were. So that's how I started off my day of a beautiful climate and sweet, lovely ladies. As I got to my desk, I started my workday, and about a half an hour later, my replacement, Sergeant Tisworth, and his wife and his 2 little girls came into the office. And of course, that increased my excitement. I met him and his family and went back to my desk to do work, and Sergeant Evans, my supervisor, took him around the office to meet everyone else. And as I was sitting down to do my work, his little girl, Kayla, she was about 3 or 4, came over to share her beautiful artwork with me. And we talked a little bit, and she got bored with me and went to say something to my co-worker, Sergeant Travis. And when she left, I turned to say something to Sergeant Evans. And at that very instant, our whole world was changed forever. When the blast hit, I didn't hear it, but my whole world went dark. And instantaneously, it felt like a ton of bricks hit me in the center of my head, and it felt like volts of electricity just coursed through my entire body. I could feel my body vibrating and shaking, and I just felt myself collapse. I don't know how long I was unconscious, but when I regained my consciousness, I was still in total darkness. And as I was in this darkness, I was trying to figure out what happened to me. I thought my computer had blown up in my face because I had been having problems with my computer. And I began screaming, "God, help me. Somebody, please help me." And because I was in total darkness, I was clueless to all the death and devastation that surrounded me. I thought I was in an isolated situation. As I slowly regained my sight, my heart, my eyes, and my mind weren't prepared for what I would behold. And then I jumped up and I tried to run toward the exit, but there was nowhere to run. It was like a tsunami of emotions just kept hitting me wave after wave, as what I was looking at was not the workplace that I had been in for the last 2 years. It had been transformed to a battlefield. I couldn't understand what was happening to me, and everything was like in slow motion. And as I'm looking at wires hanging from what was left of a ceiling, I was covered in dust from the concrete. The floor was upheavaled. My calm, peaceful world had been transformed to this in an instant. And as I was looking at this, I was looking to my left, and from nowhere, I don't know where Sergeant Tisworth's wife came from. It was like she just popped up, and her head was covered with blood. And she was screaming for little Kayla to answer her, to come to mommy. And as I was standing there, watching her and hearing all these sounds, the sounds of the cars going off, the alarms, the horns in the parking lot, I knew little Kayla. Little Kayla was never going to answer her mommy again. And I had to look away, and when I looked away, I was looking to my right, and I was facing back to where I originally sat, and I saw my captain, Captain Martin, and he was in his chair. It was like he was stapled to the chair. He couldn't move, and he was covered in blood, and I could hear Anthony saying, "We got to get a tourniquet on him to stop the bleeding, or he's not going to make it." And as I looked at all this death and confusion and chaos, I began screaming at the top of my lungs, and I could hear Sergeant Evans saying, "Sergeant Blanchard, calm down, calm down." And as he's saying this, and I'm screaming, and I'm looking at him, but something clicked in my mind, my years of military training, that you cannot accomplish anything in chaos and confusion. I needed to gain my composure. Sergeant Evans said, "I need you to sit down so I can get accountability and help everyone else." And I was able to sit down in a chair and watch him and hear him call the names of my coworkers, and hearing nothing. And I'm sitting there, I'm in shock, I'm freaking out, I'm shaking, I'm rocking back and forth, and I feel a chill just come over my body, and I just wipe my brow as I felt like I was just sweating. And as I looked at my hand, it wasn't sweat, it was blood. It was my blood. And at that instant, Sergeant Bonebreak came over and he said, "Sergeant Blanchard, can you walk?" I said, "Yes, I can." And he held out his hand and he helped me. I took his hand. And together we crawled over that debris, and he was able to get me to the stairwell. And I tell you, never before in my life have I known how important the human touch is. Well, here we are in the tranquil place of the museum. A place that you can come and gather your perspective of what you have learned from being a part of this story, this incredible story of death, pain, trauma, the human experience on a grand scale. I think for me, the message is, what do you do with your pain? Love and light overcomes the darkness. My faith in Jesus Christ was the beginning part for my healing in my soul, for me not to be a woman of hatred. Pain can make you hateful. Pain can ruin your life if you allow it. And one of the things that I learned in walking through the darkness of this pain is that I can choose my attitude. It took me a long time to come to that place, but I did. And it's a decision that I have to make every day. Because as human beings, we will experience pain throughout our lives. So you, as the future generation, as our future leaders, how are you dealing with your pain? I challenge you to be the light and the love in your community, because we all need each other. We need each other. And I challenge you to take your pain and make it a place of peace and serenity for those that you have an impact on. Thank you.